guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Blackie, and today we're going to be continuing with the Mastering the Canteen Cup Cooking series, and this time we're going to talk about a more complex meal. Now, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to create a meat and two vegetables all at one time to be able to eat. Now, you could eat it once I create it. You'll see it. Again, let us discuss how we're going to do this. We're going to start by utilizing immersion heating that we've talked about earlier. 2, we're going to talk about adding something to that water to add flavor to that immersion heating. 3, we're then going to be heating up 2 different things at once with the same heat source. Then we're going to quickly reset, and we're going to make potatoes while adding a little bit of flair to it like we've done before. We're going to use potato chips to make something kind of like, tasting like, au gratin potatoes, because we're going to add cheese to it. See? And so it's going to layer all the way up. Now when you got done, if all you had was a canteen cup and the bags, and that'll become obvious in a minute, you could eat out of the bags and out of the canteen cup at the same time. Okay? For the sake of demonstration of this, I'm going to use my World War I 1918 mess kit to be the plate to show you all of it at the end of it. So, let's take it step by step. First, we're going to determine we are going to cook this meal, and we've got all of our components ready. This is going to be using meat. Now, this meat that I'll be using is a roast beef that I got from a local deli. Okay. Now what you can do is when you go in and have them slice it, tell them to slice it thick. Now, fair warning with that. I went into the local big box W store deli a while back, and I said, slice me a slice as thick as you can slice it of the roast beef. I got a nearly 1-inch thick slab, and I thought, hey, cool, that's going to be great, because in the past I had prepared that for me and my wife by taking it and putting it in some orange juice and heating it up and then serving it beside mashed potatoes. Not all cuts of meat are equal, and that was the most tough, difficult, gristly hunk of meat. We tried chopping it up into fine pieces and putting it into the orange juice, and still it was like eating rubber. We couldn't do it. The neighborhood dogs got a treat that night. So if you're going to do this, make sure of whatever kind of meat it is, that when they slice it thicker, it doesn't become something so difficult to chew. It doesn't become real gristly or whatever. There's a reason we slice lunch meat so thin. So if you're asking them to do it thick, the meat may make the difference. Before you go to commit to take this on a camping trip or something, have them slice you a couple of pieces like pencil thick. You know, a 1/4 inch thick, and try it. If it's edible, it's soft, it tears apart, great, you're good to go. If it's like trying to chew shoe leather, get something else. Now this is what we're doing with roast beef, but we could just as easily be doing this with sliced turkey or sliced ham or anything like that. Okay, we're going to take it and carry it with us. Now it's winter now, and so the temperature this morning here in Alabama was 29, and the high today has been 51. So I could afford to take such meat, keep it in a Ziploc bag, and carry it in my pack, not anywhere up against my body, and be able to carry it to the field and know that it's not going to be too warm. It's not going to sour or go bad because of the cold temperatures that you're facing. So you got to face this. If you're in a quandary, a little bit of, well, it might warm up during the day to 50 or whatever, freeze it. Just put it in the freezer overnight before you go, and that'll give you an extra 12-14 hours as it's thawing out. So if I'm going to go out early in the morning and I'll be using this for dinner on my first night, supper on the first night, it will allow it time to thaw out. Okay? But you've got to make your own decision based upon the conditions. I have carried meat like this in a thermos before. They make wide mouth thermoses. And so I have taken them out of the refrigerator, put them in that, and carried them to the field this way before in less than perfect conditions. Not in the heat of summer, but in less than perfect conditions, and done this cooking once I got to camp. Okay, let me turn the camera down. We'll set up and we'll start cooking this meal. This is more of a supper. This is a little bit more of a fancy meal. And it's going to be a meat and 2 vegetables. Let's go. Okay, I put about 1/4 of my canteen cup water. I've got my Trangia sitting in here already fueled up. I'm going to light it now, and then we're going to get cooking. The rule is, whenever you need one of them strike anywhere matches, every other kind of matching thing will come to the top except the strike anywhere. Just letting you know. There we go. Now we're going to put that on there and start heating up. Now, we're going to be doing immersion heating like we've demonstrated in the past. But to improve it, what are we going to add to it? Well, we're going to add a type of mix you can get at the grocery store that is called au jus. Now, this is a dipping gravy like you use for putting roast beef sandwiches and stuff like that. It also works for adding flavor to other meals. Okay? So I have saved out of a previous use of one of them, I saved about 1 tablespoon worth, and that's what I'm going to put in here now, and allow that to make like an instant gravy. Give her a little stir. Once this gets good and hot, I will incorporate it into my next step, which is going to be, we're going to do a immersion, but we're not going to do the immersion in the canteen cup. Instead, we're going to do the immersion in a freezer bag off to the side. Now when you put this stuff in here, occasionally you're going to have lumps that want to just float around. Just stir them and pinch them up against the wall of the canteen cup and you'll get rid of them. Just like that. Same thing you have to do with hot chocolate. And let that heat up. In the double freezer bag, what I have in here is I already have the meat that I'm going to be using in one bag. And in the other bag, I have one of those peas and carrots single servings like you find at the store. Now they make green beans, corn, all kinds of stuff like this as a side serving, where I can use it as a part of a stew like I've done in the past, or I can use it as a side like I'm going to do now. But how do I heat it when I've only got one heating vessel? Well, that's where this comes in. I'm going to take and put the bag with the meat inside the other bag, leaving the bag with the meat sealed up. Then I'm going to open it up and I'm going to drain this excess water out. Why I would be doing this would be on a cool day like it is now. I want to be able to heat it up without having to use so much resources. And water takes a long time to heat up. It's very slow to change sides unless you've got a whole lot of heat. So by draining out these peas and carrots and getting rid of the excess water like that, now I'll put them into the outer bag like this. Okay. So now you see that the peas and carrots are in this bag and the roast beef is in the other. I will pour the hot broth into the meat. Then I will zip it up, push it down, and I will zip up the other bag, squeezing out a little bit of air. That will cause them to be held together but separate. Once I've done that, to keep me from losing heat so much, I'm going to use this mesh scarf to wrap around the whole thing to help hold the heat and insulate it. Now for insulation, what can you use? Well, you could use clothing, you could use whatever. See, this is almost ready right now. I have used socks, I have used t-shirts, I've used the other canteen cover, the old fuzzy one, before. It's almost hot enough. See, that immersion is going to A, add flavor to the meat, and B, warm the meat and the peas up by itself. Then I will transfer over and make the potatoes in here. Won't take just another minute because the steam's already coming off of it. I want it just start a rolling boil. Not bad, but just starting a rolling boil. Okay. There's my orange juice gravy ready to go. Now I take this, and being very careful not to burn myself, I will pour it into the inner bag around the meat. Okay. Now I will zip up the inner bag, push it inside the outer bag, of course it's all fumbled when you're doing it on camera, and then zip up the outer bag. Now I will take this wrap and I will wrap it up to keep it warm. Hold that heat in there while I'm doing the rest of the cooking. Now into this canteen cup I'll add just a splash of water, just to rinse out, not truly wash. I don't care if there's a little bit of that flavor, but wash out that orange juice. I'm going to put it back on the heat, add some water to it, about a third, like that. And now I'm going to take my bag of Lay's potato chips. Now just give them a light crunch. Don't turn them to powder, but just lightly crunch them. Just like that. Put those in there. Now add just enough water. Bring it up where you can see the water. They're kind of floating right there. Give it a stir to press them all down in there. And now that water, let it come up to a boil. Once it reaches a boil, you'll have about a minute of boil time and then take it off the heat. That will allow the potato to actually rehydrate and puff up and be a potato again. All a real potato chip. Now notice, I'm using Lay's real potato chips. These ain't Pringles or something like that. This is actually just a thin piece of potato that was sliced and then dropped immediately into hot oil to make a potato chip. So it's been cooked, but if you rehydrate it, it becomes a hunk of potato again. You'll see. This whole meal does not take long at all. My old antique dinnerware inside my World War I mess kit. I'll use this to plate it up on here in just a minute. Do I want to use that or use the lid? Remember they had the old offset lid back in World War I? I think I'll use the lid. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to bump it. Now, once I pull the potatoes out and the potatoes are done, I've got a little bit of finely grated cheese right there. Little bitty hunks of cheese that I'm going to then throw on top of it to spice it up. I got my cheese ready, because what I'm going to do is once these potatoes have plumped back up and become something other than potato chips, and they're getting there real quick right now. Then what I will do is I'll put a little layer of cheese down on the plate, put the hot potatoes on top, add another layer of cheese, hot potato on top, etc. until I've got it layered up. Then I'll take the meat out and put beside it and the peas on the other side and have one big meal ready to go. The whole thing doesn't take 10 minutes unless you're having to talk to a camera. Be back with you in just a minute as soon as that's ready to go. Okay, I've got a little low boil starting around the edge right now. They're just about ready to go right now. Take one out. Blow on it. Yep. It does not taste like a potato chip anymore. It tastes like hash browns or a gratin. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Whoop. So this has to go quickly. Alright, on my plate, I'm going to take and put a little layer of cheese down. Just like that. Put my plate right here where I can get to it easy. I'm going to take and I'm going to get rid of the excess water off to the side out of my canteen cup. Being careful not to pour all my potatoes out too. Okay, let it drain just a second. But while they're still hot, I'm going to take a scoopful of them potatoes, squeeze them off to the side, make sure there's no water on them, put them down on top of that cheese. That heat will help melt them. Pull them up to the top of the canteen cup, like that. So I can drain away any water. Put them on the cheese. One more time. Now I add more cheese along the top. Now you could add any kind of cheese, you could add any kind of topping you want. Just like that, and just keep layering it up. Squeeze them up to the top, get all the water out from around it, and then lay them on top of the cheese. Sprinkle a little bit more. There we go. Now let's put out the fire and get the remaining potatoes out. You see how small that bag of potatoes was. I'm going to hold this up for you to see more clearly in just a second. Okay. And look how much potato that made. Pretty good to have plenty of potatoes, ain't it? You can see the cheese right there. So you can put cheeses, you can put Parmesan, you can put whatever. Now, let's go back for the rest of the meal. I'm going to reach inside, slide this out. It is still really warm to the touch. It's done its job. I'm going to unzip the outer package, and I'm going to pull out the anjuice and the meat. Set that down, and then I'm going to take and put peas and carrots onto my plate. If it was just me and the canteen cup, I would just eat it out of the bag. Move that off to the side a little bit. And then finally, I will unzip and I will pour off the excess anjuice, leaving the nice warm meat. And there you go. Hot meat ready to go, vegetable ready to go, and cheese and potatoes ready to go. All out of a canteen cup, and all in like 10 to 15 minutes tops. So, meat, potatoes, and veggie, all in one. Turn that around and use that sharp edge of that fork, son. There we go. So easy, so quick, no problem, and you got a meal. Now, you can do this with turkey. You can do it with chicken. You can do it with ham. You can do it with roast beef. There's all kinds. How about that Cajun roast beef? You want a little bit of pick-me-up. The potatoes. How about you substitute and try it with sour cream and onion potatoes or barbecue or any of the above. Try it home and find out what you like. The vegetable. Any kind of vegetable you can find that comes in a small enough serving that you can carry along. That's all you need. The potatoes taste like, look how thick. They do not taste like, excuse me, pardon me for eating in front of you. They don't taste like potato chips. They taste like potatoes. And by adding cheeses and other toppings to it, you can change it where it's a radically different taste. All with something so simple. Hope you've enjoyed this, guys. If you have, please hit that like, share, and subscribe. And I got more videos coming in the Canteen Cup Cooking series. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.